Alright, what's up YouTube? It's Noto again. Maybe been a while since I uploaded. Uh, kind of weird. I got busy with other things, life, school, work, just stuff happening, so it's kind of weird that I'm making a video in 2021, but it's a video that I want to talk about one of the things I was really anticipated about that actually came out, and I'm pretty sure everyone's seen it by now, but the Snyder Cut, or Zack Snyder's Justice League as it's being officially advertised, is out on HBO Max. And for those who don't know, Snyder Cut was this thing that was being rumored about after the theatrical cut of Justice League, because that movie was kind of trash, and people were like, "Oh no, there's this cut that exists that is actually way better than what we got." So now we have it, and that's to make a long story short. There's other politics behind the scenes, a lot of stuff with Zack Snyder's personal life, and there's stuff with Ray Fisher between him and the studio, and there's a lot of stuff to tangle. But I guess what I want to say is, I guess my opinion, if anyone cares, is that as someone who I really dug the DCU as for what it was basically just an Elseworlds telling of these comic characters. And at first, people weren't really excited about that because I guess with Marvel, people expect a more comic accurate portrayal of these characters, but even then, the MCU isn't exactly comic accurate either. I mean, Mandarin isn't comic accurate. Spider-Man, to an extent, isn't comic accurate either. And I guess we can go on that debate forever. But the main complaint was, oh, the DCU, not comic accurate enough, too dark, need to be lighter tone, or all these complaints being thrown around, especially after the events of when BVS came out. And that's what basically made such a course correction when Justice League, the actual cut, came out back in 2017. So, yeah, ultimately, I really dug those films for what they were. I always appreciated that these are takes, these characters, because they're in a very modern interpretation of our world. Not just, like, realistic, but more modern, where we have, people, people in media, people in news, and also how the general public reacts to the action of these big giant heroes, and which is really delved deep into BVS, which I really dug, and especially how it portrayed the media and the public's reaction to the events that Superman had within that film. And then we now get to the Snyder Cut, which ultimately isn't focused on stuff relating to Superman and his impact on the world. I feel like BVS already kind of said its piece on that. This mainly focused on, alright, well, we got new characters. We got Flash, Aquaman, Cyborg, and we got Steppenwolf. We got Darkseid. We got Saab. We got Granny Goodness. So basically, you had to juggle all that stuff, and luckily with the 4-hour runtime, which some people like to complain about, apparently, but I mean, when you have all this stuff you need to cram into one film, you're gonna need the extra runtime. Admittedly, there's some stuff you could have cut out, but I think that since this film puts the runtime where it needs to, character development, action, really emotional moments, that I feel like even though, yeah, you could have cut it down, the movie as is that we got is superior to the theatrical cut in every single way. And one of the ways it does this is the portrayal of Cyborg. And in the original version, Cyborg was just kind of, he's just there, and he just basically spouts exposition, and that's about it, which kind of sucks. But in the Snyder Cut, we literally see Cyborg's full origin. We see a flashback to when he played football. We see him, how the mother box changed his body. We see so many facets of his character with his relationship with his mom, his dad, and the rest of the league. It makes you realize how much stuff was cut, and ultimately Zack Snyder said, oh, Cyborg is the heart and soul of this movie, and you buy it, because his arc is so essential to the movie. Taking out really strips out a lot of the emotional moments within the film, especially towards the end. And I really loved Cyborg's character in this film. It's very tragic and a very heartfelt tale, and you ultimately feel really bad for him, but the fact at the end that he accepts who he is almost really triumphant in the end. And I feel like that's kind of as an example for the rest of the film, because the film is lighter in tone. I wouldn't say lighter, it just has it's more optimistic in that sense, which makes sense, because if a film like Justice League was still dark and depressing like BVS was, especially when you're trying to like the idea of unity and coming together to be one. Having a much more darker tone and more depressing tone wouldn't really help. You know, it made more sense for BVS because it had a much more Empire track. It was basically Empire in a sense, where it had like a bittersweet ending with the death of Superman and stuff leading up to that. This feels more in line with Return of the Jedi, if that makes sense. And another thing that I love about this film is the characterization of Batman and how it ties into BVS, to where after the events of BVS, he wants to be much more optimistic, more hopeful, because he made a promise to Superman 3. It's like, I'll do right by you. I'll assemble the team. I'll do what it takes to do right by you, because I fucked up in the last movie. And I love that he goes on this arc, and it feels so satisfying to actually have this character who is basically criticized because he's not Batman. In this movie, basically becomes Batman again, if that makes sense. Another thing that I loved is the characterization of Flash, where in the theatrical cut, he was really played off for laughs, which I think was not the best way to do it. Because, I mean, yeah, you can have Flash be like this, you know, character that's very comedic, but at the same time, you need a character but you can't have too much levity or else you're not going to take him seriously. Yeah, he has jokes in the movie, but at the end of the day, when it's game time, he needs to, he needs to get to work. There's no jokes. He needs to get shit done. And at the end, dude, everyone's talking about the Flash scene at the end, and I'm just like, yo, it's that scene where you see Flash turn back time because the League fails to stop the Unity at first is the most dope fucking scene ever. Seriously, it is one of the most standout highlights of this film, and I swear it's gonna go up there, one of the most iconic scenes in the DCU at least. Another thing I feel like no one's talking about is the score. Like, some parts of the score I feel like get memed on, especially Wonder Woman's theme, where it's like, where it has like these like warrior-esque chants in the background, which is like, okay, sure, but Cyborg theme is really cool. Flash's theme is really fucking dope. The reincorporation of the Man of Steel soundtrack really sold it for me, and that's gonna tie into my next bit. The use of Superman. Any scene with Superman in this film made this film went from like a 7 or 8 to like a 9 out of 10 for me, because the fact that this ties into the themes and emotions I felt in Man of Steel hit it home for me. The fact that they reused, like they had like lines and quotes that Jonathan Kent and Jor-El said in Man of Steel were reused in this film, and I think was such a cool way to tie it back to that film as well. And the idea that Superman is coming back, he needs to understand that he's given a second chance. He needs to become Superman. He needs to do what is right for the betterment, not just of mankind, but the people that he cares about. And it just, oh man! And then when he comes back, beats the shit out of Steppenwolf, and it's such an awesome moment for this character. And I feel like people who think that, and I feel like this is a better way to do Superman's return than the theatrical cut did. It's way better. And then I guess to end it off, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a better film. And I guess the only thing I'll say is I'm glad that it came out. I hope that Warner Brothers and DC understand that fans want a continuation of this, whether it's a miniseries, whether it's a full-length film, I don't know. I would love to see Justice League Part 2 or Part 3, but I don't know. I'm glad this movie came out. It's one of those things where you think it's never going to happen because you hope, and especially when you hear what actually happens in a Snyder cut, and you're just like, ugh. Because for me, I basically knew what was going to happen before the film came out. Not because basically the plot threads of the Snyder cut were already leaked on YouTube and other like forums and websites. So I already knew what the gist of what the Snyder cut was going to be like. But now actually seeing it come to fruition is so insane. It's like being a manga reader and it's like being a manga reader for an anime and knowing what's going to happen next. That's how it feels. I'm like, okay. But yeah, that's just kind of my tangent about the Snyder cut. I hope you guys dug it. I sure as hell dug it. But if you didn't like it, cool. It's a free world. You have an opinion, my guy. That's what you have the comment section for. But other than that, I'm probably gonna head out. So you guys have a good one. Stay safe. Yeah. Laters, kiddos.